lesson 2.5 on multiplying fractions and mixed numbers. And actually we're multiplying and dividing fractions and mixed numbers or rational numbers. So to multiply fractions or mixed numbers, you write any mixed number or whole numbers as improper fractions. Simplify by dividing both the numerator and denominator by a common factor. Multiply straight across, multiply the numerators and then the denominators. Make sure it is simplified. Here is an example. So we have 2 4/5 times 4 1/2. 5, first I'm going to make them both into mixed numbers. So I did 2 times 5 plus 4 gives me 14 over 5. 4 times 2 plus 1 gives me 9 over 2. Then I can look to see if anything can simplify. I don't need a common denominator for this. But 14 and 2 both go into each other. So I'm going to cross off 2 because 2 goes into 2 one time. And 14, 2 goes into 14 7 times. And then I'm going to multiply across. 7 times 9 is 63. 5 times 1 is 5. And now I'm going to take this improper fraction and make it a mixed number. And I get my final answer, 12 3/5. Multiplying fractions is so much more fun than adding and subtracting because you don't need a common denominator. What about division? So for division, to divide, we need to know this key word right here, reciprocal, flipped or opposite fraction, where you make the numerator the denominator, okay? We're going to write any mixed number or whole number as an improper fraction to start, same as before. Multiply the first number by the reciprocal of the second. This is the whole keep, change. Some people say F for flip, some people say R for reciprocal, some people say O for opposite, just like with addition. For the purposes of today, I'm using F. Sometimes I say reciprocal with R. So what we're going to do here, we have 19 1/2 divided by 1 1/2. I make them both into improper fractions. 19 1/2 becomes 39 over 2, and 1 1/2 becomes 3 over 2. Then I wrote keep, change, reciprocal up there. Again, you could say flip, it means the same thing. So that becomes 39 over 2. It's already been crossed out because I did the problem, but this says 39 over 2 times, and then I flipped it. 2 went on top, 3 went on bottom. And then I looked to simplify. So I had 39 and I had 3. 3 went into both of those. 3 went into 3 one times. 3 went into 39 13 times. 2 went into 1. 2 went into 2 one time. 2 went into 2 one time. I multiplied across. 13 over 1 equals 13 is my final answer. Now what's really cool is now we are going to be learning how this can help us to solve equations. So first, here we go. Dividing fractions is the same as multiplying by the, and write in reciprocal. Remember, adding the additive inverse was the opposite of the number. So the additive inverse of 2 is -2, or the additive inverse of -3 is 3. The multiplicative inverse, we're talking about the reciprocal. We're flipping it. Okay, let's look at some examples. So we have 15 1/2 divided by 7/8. Go ahead and make those into improper fractions. So 15 times 2 plus 1, we get 31 over 2 divided by, and 7/8 can stay the same. Now we're going to do keep, change, reciprocal. 31 divided by 2 times, that's what I changed, and my reciprocal is going to flip these, so 8 over 7. Now I look to see if I can simplify. Don't try to simplify up here. You got to do that once it's multiplication. So here we've got, oh, there we go. 2 goes into 2 one time. 2 goes into 8 4 times. 31 and 7 don't have any factors in common. Now I'm going to multiply across. 31 times 4 is 124. 7 times 1 is 7. And now, am I done? Nope, because it is not simplified completely. I need to make it into a mixed number. And the answer that I get when I make it into a mixed number is, I realize that 7 goes in 17 times, and I have a remainder of 5 over 7. That would be my final answer. Let's look at this one. 1/2 divided by -1/3. Okay, so I'm going to do, there's no mixed numbers here, so I'm going to do keep, change, reciprocal. 1/4 stays the same, changes to multiplication. I'm going to flip that to -3 over 1. Then I look, nothing in common. 1 times 3, 4 times 1. So my answer is negative, don't lose that negative you've got, -3/4. Okay, this is what's really exciting. I can take this information I learned and use it to solve equations by multiplying. So right now I have 4/5 times x equals 9/10. What's happening to x? It's being multiplied by 4/5. How do I undo multiplication? Right, I'm going to divide. So typically we've written it where I would do this, a line here, and I'd write 4/5. Then I would have 4/5 divided by 4/5, which looks super confusing, right? But remember, division is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So I can, right here, fix this. I can get rid of this 4/5. I can undo it by taking the multiplicative inverse, which means I'm not going to divide by 4/5. I'm going to multiply by 5/4. And doing that will get rid of it. It'll cross it off. Those would cross off, those would cross off, and whatever I do to this side, I have to do to this side. So I'm going to multiply this side by 5/4. Now I can look to see, this is multiplication, so I can look to see if they have anything in common. 5 goes into that once, that twice, multiply across. So I'm going to write it down here for space, but -9 times 1 is -9, and 2 times 4 is 8. Am I done? Nope, it can be simplified even more. The answer can be simplified to -1. 8 goes into 9 one time, and my leftover would be 1/8. The great thing about this negative sign, I can move the negative sign down here, I can have it there, or I can move it out to the mixed number. As long as there's only one negative sign, it works out. What I can't do is add one down here too, because then I would have 2 negatives and it would make it a positive. So as long as you got that, you're good. Let's look at another example. 3/4 y equals -1/8. So I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 4 over 3. They will cross off. And then here I'm going to multiply by 4 over 3. And I've got, goes in once, goes in twice. Look at how neat that worked out. -1 over 6. And in that case, my answer is already finalized. So I would write it as y equals -1/6. And here I should also write my answer as x equals -1/8. All right, I think you're ready. So go ahead and dig in and get to work.